through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario on stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host, Nick Bernabe, here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Really happy to be back. Night before Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people probably thought I wasn't going to show up tonight, but I am. Because it's a really important show. A lot to talk about, especially with what's going on with the continuous plight of the indigenous people of the Americas, you know, the Native Americans, the American Indians, many different people describe them in different ways, but all in all, the people that were here before anyone else were of course victim of a massive genocide, one that is continuously downplayed and ignored, and most people just don't realize the amount of carnage and just brutality that went into really doing away with the Native Americans for the most part. I mean, they were almost completely wiped out through disease and war and just displacement and starvation. And, one thing I remember, because, almost everybody has to go through the public schooling system. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is of kids that go to private schools, but most don't, because most families just aren't financially independent enough to afford that. But I remember in school learning about the Native Americans and the manifest destiny and American exceptionalism and stuff. And, one thing that really stood out to me, something that I recently learned, was the true reason why the buffalo were almost wiped out. Because back in school, I was taught, at least, and I'm sure a lot of other people were taught the same stuff, because a lot of this education stuff is handed down from the federal and state level, so everybody has to learn the same shit. One thing I learned was that back in school was that people shot the buffalo just for fun, or to take the skin from the buffalo. And I'm sure that was definitely part of it, but recently I learned a much more sinister aspect of the why the buffalo were being wiped out systematically was, in fact, to starve out the Native Americans, So that's just a little bit of history that is left out of the school textbooks and left out of left out of the conversation at school and just in history in general for The people that all they know of history is what they get taught in high school. It's pretty unfortunate because that's government-controlled education. So they're only going to teach you what they want you to know. I mean, it'd be nice if we had a universal education system in the United States that was unbiased and that was, the curriculum was independently, created, but it's not. I mean, it's government-controlled stuff. So, anyway, yeah, go look that up. That's crazy. I never knew that, and it's just gross and it's ridiculous that this country sanctioned that kind of action. But the thing that's even worse, and just to go a little bit off topic here, but related, we're now backing the same type of stuff right now in Yemen. The Saudi-led coalition, which is backed by U.S. infrastructure, is purposely bombing the Yemeni food system. They're bombing their grain storehouses. They're bombing the farms. They're bombing the cattle ranches. They're purposely destroying the food system to starve the people out of Yemen, to get them to give up and submit to the government, because there's a massive rebellion there that has basically overtaken the whole country. And it's basically the opposite of what the U.S. is doing in Syria, where we're supposedly over there doing God's work and supporting democracy. In Yemen, we're supporting a dictatorship, and we're helping to bomb rebels who are tired of being U.S. and Saudi puppets. And the U.S. has been drone bombing over there throughout the Obama administration, and this rebellion has grown out. Despite the drone bombing, the rebellion has grown, and they've been beating the hell out of Saudi Arabia over there. But it's twisted. It's bad enough that, oh my God, we did that stuff to the Native Americans. We tried to starve them out. That's horrible. But we're doing it today too. Nobody gives a shit. Where's everybody at on Yemen? Where's the media coverage? I mean, they're bombing the food system on purpose. It's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back on topic. I got my longtime co-host on the line, DB Schwartz. What's up, dude?
Not much, Nick. Just, seeing that this stuff's finally kind of stopped the pipeline, and the worksite was silent, and it did have a lot to do with Sophia. I forget her last name, but I can look it up anyway. Her getting hit kind of put a face or a martyr into this cause, and it's been just from the beginning. But a lot of people didn't know about it. Surprisingly, people in my own family that go on the internet didn't even know that any of this was going on. So there's still no media of consequence, except today finally CNN broke the story, of course brought out Morton County Sheriff's side of it, that we were spraying just water hoses because they were starting fires so that we couldn't get across the bridge. Naturally, that was the opposite of the truth. And he also said that they didn't shoot any concussion grenades, and that she must have had a bomb that she didn't get rid of in time, and that she injured her own arm because the protesters were throwing bombs at them, when in truth, they were shooting canisters of tear gas over, and some of the few people brave enough to were throwing them back at them. So, I mean, it's just totally skewed. It's scary because it's like this. It's a corporate interest that's meshed with like the national defense,
the militarized police state, man. It's literally like textbook fascism. What was it? Mussolini has that famous quote. Some people say it's misattributed, but it's accurate. Fascism should more be called corporatism because it's the fusion of corporate and state power.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's going on in Standing Rock right now. I mean, it's fascism.
Who better to lead us into totalitarian fascism than somebody that can blend the mind-numbingness of the current entertainment media, which is essentially reality TV shows, with the highest executive office in the land? There's no better puppet clown prince to lead us into this new era.
And let's not try to cover for Trump at all here, because Trump is a corporatist. He's been a corporatist for his whole career. His dad was a corporatist. I mean, you don't get that rich in the United States or probably anywhere. People say, oh yeah, you just got to be real smart and work hard and stuff. No, you got to be a corporatist to become a billionaire in this country because of all the regulations and all the government intervention. Your only hope is to enlist the government on your behalf, and that's exactly what Trump has done his entire career. Some people say, "Oh, he's just a smart businessman." No, he's part of the problem. He's a corporatist. Trump is you're right, man. I mean, he's perfect to become, take over the fascist state that's quickly evolving here. And
He's a different bag. I mean, pick your poison, like we're going to have an unprecedented era of nationalism. So if people are gung ho about America and the ideals we've stood for the last, I don't know, 240 years, by all means, continue to fight for the empire. I mean, that's what we're about now. We're an empire that never stopped. Manifest Destiny never stopped. Anybody that got in its way was dealt with. And they've continued Manifest Destiny through stuff like the Bretton Woods arrangement and printing money out of thin air because they've been able to bribe their way across the world. And it doesn't work anymore. And that's just what it is. It just doesn't work anymore because any of the leverage we had militarily is kind of thrown out the window because China and Russia are seriously kind of like those counterbalances. And, one thing Trump could bring about that's strange is that he could maybe lead to an alliance with Russia. I've kind of called it since he was elected that, I could see something formal happening. If that happens, that would push the balance. And then possibly that could lead to an absolutely paranoid China. And that in itself could be kind of a crazy world, too.
Yeah, that's not something we want to be dealing with, really. A China that's pushed back into a corner, paranoid, with the hugest population in the world, nuclear armed, huge military, quickly becoming technologically advanced, militarily. Yeah, all that stuff is going on right now, and it's just it's insane.
And it's tied to the GAPL because all the oil is going to China because it's too dirty to burn here under EPA. Unless Trump's honestly thinking he can get rid of it, which he won't. He can't dismantle the EPA in one term. It's going to go all to China. And then if we do have a spill, and we will eventually, it goes right into that big aquifer. And it's like Nebraska and Iowa and Kansas, all the staple crops, all the wheat, everything that everybody eats east of the Rockies, because California basically feeds the whole West Coast and parts of Oregon and stuff. But like here, there's 4 or 5 states, and we feed most of the rest of the country. Like for when you really look at it, we ship out and truck out more food by far than comes back in here. So if an oil spill hits and it pollutes into that aquifer, they can't clean an underground ocean. How do you do that?
Yeah, dude. Great point. It's just ridiculous what's going on. And, back to these Morton County sheriffs. God, these guys are just lying, dude. They're just lying. One of the media outlets who's been embedded with the protests over there in North Dakota, Unicorn Riot, who we helped gain them a lot of following on social media because they were one of the outlets that were there when the crackdown first started, and when they tried to post all the live videos on Facebook wouldn't let them post it. It was basically algorithmically censored, and of course a couple days later Facebook said, oops, we didn't mean to censor that stuff, it was just our algorithm flagged it on accident. Anyway, regardless whether it was done on purpose or not, it was censored. We actually covered the story, broke the story about the initial crackdown. I think that day they arrested like 30 people or something like that. This is at the very beginning before it even got that big. And we used Unicorn Riot's Facebook posts talking about how their videos were getting taken down, and they blew up from like 12,000 followers. Now they're, I don't know, I haven't checked the last couple of weeks, but they were up to like 60 or 70,000 followers or something. Anyway, they made some posts because they recovered a bunch of the munitions that were used down there by the cops at Standing Rock. And yeah, there's concussion grenades in there from what I could tell. I mean, there's tear gas canisters, and then there's something else. There's other grenade looking things that are, expanded metal with just blown out grenades and the big rubber, plastic bullets, whatever they're using out there. So, and the cops are coming out, and I didn't catch that CNN segment, DB. So they basically interviewed the sheriff's department, is that correct?
Yeah, essentially the sheriff's department put out a statement that they categorically denied using any kind of a projectile that would have hit the Sophia, which of course is because her father's a lawyer, and that's just going to become actually a civil rights lawsuit, which is going to become massive. So she will become the face of this. And they don't want to be involved, but there's evidence. There's the most damning is the drone. I mean, the drone evidence from digital smoke signals, it was showing, and it almost got hit. You remember we talked about it last episode.
Yeah,
they tried
to shoot the drone down with the water cannon.
Yeah, I mean, that evidence is damning. It shows them shooting projectiles at people unarmed just standing there, and they are the ones that put up the barbed wire barricades. So they've created this citadel, this fortress, and when people tried to block them with their bodies and start a line, they started using stuff like tear gas when people couldn't move, and just kept shooting it to the point where it looked like a hurricane of tear gas coming at people. And it was just torturing them because they couldn't move. So they just had to sit there and suck it in. I mean, it's just, this stuff's way far beyond these cops doing it. There's people quitting now because at least a few of them have a conscience. But this is going to demoralize the police coming back. We have guys from Hennepin County here in Minneapolis that are going to come back and just think, what in the hell did we just do?
These cops are going to come back, and they're going to be, they're going to have PTSD. Not even talking about the protesters. I mean, these protesters are being traumatized on a regular basis, but these cops are going to come back, and they're going to be like, Afghan war vets that are coming back, and they're like, what the hell did we do over there?
They didn't sign up to do that stuff, man.
It's kind of like just exactly what's going on in Iraq. It's like, wait, we're over there fighting for oil companies? Like, what are we doing in North Dakota right now? These guys are going to be having to deal with the tranches for years after the pipeline is, whether it's stopped or whether it's built. These cops are going to be having to deal with what they've done over there for a long time, and it's not pretty. People are going to look back at this, and it's kind of like, I see what went on Sunday with this massive crackdown where, there was 300 reported injuries. Of course, the Sophia, I got her last name here, DB, because I know you can remember it. It's one of those names that's kind of hard to remember. Sophia Wilansky.
Wilansky, yeah.
And she had her arm basically blown to bits by some type of concussion grenade. That's what her dad said. That's what all the eyewitnesses said. That's what she said. So I'm going to take her word for it. I'm not going to take the sheriff's department word for it. That's clearly just trying to cover their asses up. Like I said, Unicorn Riot recovered some of these grenades, and what I could tell, it looks like a concussion grenade. It does not. It's not a tear gas canister. It's something else. It's a big expanded piece of metal that you can tell.
It explodes, and then what happened was her arm got hit by a piece of super fast. I mean, she's lucky she didn't die because it didn't hit something worse like her body, but she got hit with shrapnel. That's what shredded her arm so bad. When the concussion grenade hit her, and then exploded when it hit her arm. Instead of hitting the ground and creating a big boom, it hit her like just naked, or actually went through her jacket.
Yeah, it blew her jacket apart, blew her arm apart. And I saw the Facebook post from the Morton County Sheriff's Department, who posted a picture of a propane canister, like one of those small ones that are used for camping. And they said, well, this is probably what blew her arm up. Well, I'm looking at the propane canister, and it's intact. It's not blown up. I mean, it's dirty. It's like it was like in the mud. It's got some black marks on it. It's not blown up. So, I mean, if they're saying that there was that, and they're basically saying, well, this is our evidence that it wasn't us. It's not blown up. If someone was blowing up propane canisters, there would be very little bit left of the canister to be showing, and if there was some, it'd be all blown into pieces, and it'd be a mangled wreck. It was completely intact. And so the cops are saying, well, our experts say that there's, her wounds don't look like it could have been caused by a concussion grenade. First of all, show me some other examples of people who you've blown up with concussion grenades so that we could see some, so that, if your experts know what it looks like, well, I'd like to see, because I've never heard of anybody in the United States getting blown up with a concussion grenade before. Seems like it was a first. Second of all, the cops have not conducted an investigation of her wounds. I mean, she's in the hospital trying to get her arm put back together so they don't have to, take the arm off. And so the cops are putting out statements showing intact propane tanks saying, oh, this is probably what blew her arm up. It's like, okay, guys, you're reaching like really badly here. You're making yourself look real bad. But it does kind of go to show that these guys are the Morton County Sheriff's Department is facing some intense pressure after this incident. And I think you're right, DB, that Sophia will end up being some type of martyr. Unfortunately, it had to come to this, but she will be probably some type of martyr in this struggle against the pipeline. And I was going to say that what went on Sunday, which was this just extreme escalation of the violence over there on behalf of the cops, to me it's almost like a Kent State moment, because I think the country has kind of been concerned about police militarization ever since. I mean, hold on, let's go back a little bit. We've been concerned about police militarization for a really long time. We started finding out about the MRAPs and that these police departments and sheriff's departments were starting to get these armored vehicles and this kind of leftover weapons from Iraq and stuff like that. And we've been talking about this on the anti-media since day one. I mean, we've been going at this for like 4 or 5 years now, and we've been talking about this on a regular basis. Thanks to internet technology and people recording police interactions on their phone, we've known that there's been an issue with increased police violence for a pretty long time. And I think it's not that it's increased per se over the past 5 years, but it's that more and more incidents are being, videotaped, and they're getting put online, and we're finding out about them, and they're going viral and stuff. Now, the country itself has been kind of concerned, at least some demographics have been concerned about police militarization ever since what went on in Ferguson. Because looking back at Ferguson, and nobody wants to look at the evidence. Everybody just wants to say, oh, yeah, I agree with what went, with Black Lives Matter, or I disagree, and they're just a bunch of rioting thugs. That's basically like the general conversation in the United States. But nobody wants to look deeper at the situation and see that police militarization very well may have caused the riots. I mean, the riots were triggered by police overreaction, police militarization, firing tear gas into the protesting crowds, and then the people start going, they start going berserk because they're trapped in a street and they're throwing tear gas at you. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to start throwing stuff back. You know what I mean? And that's how these riots, many of which were triggered by the militarization. In fact, we've documented that on the anti-media. We had a journalist, Justin King, go down to Ferguson, and that's what he, with some research that he did, that's what he came to, the conclusion he came to. So, the country's been kind of concerned about police militarization since Ferguson. Again, it's been kind of one of these divisive issues where it's like, oh, well, if you don't do anything wrong, then, you don't got to worry about the cops and blah, 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 blah. But now after Sunday, this isn't an incident where it's just like one kid, like, it wasn't just Mike Brown getting shot, or it wasn't just Eric Garner getting choked for selling a cigarette, or it wasn't just Freddie Gray getting, his back broken in the, back of a police van. I mean, we're talking about 300 injuries in one night caused by the police. And what may be, a couple of people were seriously injured. We don't know if anyone has died. One girl, Sophia, had her arm blown to bits. I mean, this is a big time event that I think if this doesn't cause a major movement against police militarization, I literally don't know what will. And if this doesn't do it, like I'll start losing hope, because this is something that we're finally at the point now where there has to be a major pushback, and the police around the country, they either need to be demilitarized completely, or we need to start preparing for them rolling this stuff out at a national level, and that there's going to be police armies on every street, and they're going to be cracking down on everybody, because that's what's going to happen if we don't get this stuff pushed back, because they're using it on unarmed, peaceful Native American protesters now. They're dousing them with water in freezing temperatures, giving them hypothermia. They're blowing off their arms. They're making, they're knocking old people unconscious. They're making people inhale tear gas, which is technically a chemical weapon. If this doesn't wake people up to what's going on in this country, I really don't know what will. And in my article, I covered what went on with Sophia, and I also covered the some of the media coverage, because, like you mentioned, DB, they're on CNN, they're just regurgitating the sheriff's department's talking points. I mean, most of these mainstream news outlets are guilty of downplaying what went on Sunday. In my article, I talk about a New York Times article. We got the Associated Press, NPR, ABC, CBS, CNN, and the Washington Post, all downplaying the severity of what went on. In fact, they didn't even cover Sophia's story at all until today. I saw an article, I think, on MSN, where they covered the statement from her dad. But in my article, I include the video there from her dad talking about what happened, and God, the guy halfway through the video, he just starts breaking down, crying, and he's like, this isn't Iraq or Afghanistan. I mean, they've blown my daughter's arm up with a grenade in the United States. He's like, what in the hell is going on here? What country is this? And he's like, how is America this bad in 2016? Well, if the people that have been listening to our show for a couple years now, when people say, oh, 2016 America, this is going, well, yeah, 26 shit's getting worse, dude. It's not like, oh yeah, that stuff happened back in the 60s. This kind of stuff doesn't happen. No, it's getting a lot worse, actually, and a lot more blatant. Thankfully, we can now see it happening live, technology and stuff. But I mean, this is a wake-up call, and for this stuff to be going on right now, I think Obama recently declared November Native American Awareness Month or something like that. And, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and it's a day that, of course, is whatever. It's been misconstrued into all these different things. Of course, it celebrates the pilgrims and blah, blah, blah. But really, it's kind of the initiation of the genocide of the Native Americans. But, of course, I'm going to go hang out with my family tomorrow. And, again, like all these other holidays, 4th of July and all this other crap that basically means nothing anymore. But really all it is now is just get together with and enjoy your family and stuff, and cool. But do people even understand the meanings behind these holidays anymore? Probably not. It's probably a good thing, because most of these holidays are not that awesome, or they don't apply anymore. Like Independence Day, celebrating your freedom and stuff. I mean, doesn't really apply in the United States no more. We got the biggest prisoner population in the entire world ever. So we can't really celebrate that, and we're celebrating Thanksgiving, thanking the Native Americans for what? For killing them? Thank you guys for letting us take your land, or for us taking your stuff. It's not really a time to celebrate or a reason to celebrate. So, I guess that's maybe it's a good thing that people have lost the meanings of this stuff, because maybe it's kind of something we should be ashamed of. And it really is sad. I saw, a couple articles and videos talking about, the perspective of Native Americans on Thanksgiving, and some are more optimistic than others, but it's really a time to reflect on what we're doing, because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, with what's going on in Yemen. We took a bunch of land from Native Americans by force. We brutalized them. waged war against them, killed them, forced them off their land, gave them reservations, and then when we found resources on reservations, we took that from them too. So that's kind of what has gone on there in North Dakota, because the land where this Army Corps of Engineer land is, that used to be part of the reservation as well, but they long time ago, back I think it was like in 1851 or so, they went and the government said, hey dude, I know we said you guys could have this land as your reservation, but we're gonna have to go ahead and move you even further back, take it back, and we're gonna need that land because there may be gold on it, or they may have found some type of resource on it. And that's what happened. So this land historically, according to the initial treaties, was Standing Rock, or it was Sioux land, and it was taken from them unjustly. And so all they're doing is trying to say, hey, this is our land, you guys signed a treaty, you broke the treaty, we want you to honor that treaty. And a country supposedly built on property rights and contract law and that kind of stuff is not willing to honor its contract and its rule of law or its property rights. And so it's really bad. But here's the other thing: all that stuff we did to Native Americans, we're doing it right now, not only in Standing Rock, and we're also doing it in isolated areas like in Arizona, where we're taking land and giving it to mining companies, and in other places like Colorado, where they've mined uranium and left the waste to just sit there and let everybody get sick on their reservations and stuff like that. I mean, that's ongoing. But in other places around the world, I mean, we're still doing the same stuff. Genocide, man. I mean, we're supporting the Israelis and their genocide against the Palestinians. We're, actively bombing like 8 to 10 different countries. Hard to even keep track at this point. What's going on in Yemen, I mean, it's borderline genocide what they're doing. In Syria, we're backing a inorganic revolution, which has led to the destruction of an ancient civilization over there. What we've done to Iraq, what we've done to Afghanistan, what we've done now in Pakistan, what we're doing in Somalia, what we've done to Libya, what we've done to Vietnam, what we've done to a lot of places around the world, and in Latin America and Central America. It's just like this recurring theme, right? And we're supposed to like celebrate this stuff apparently. And to me, it's like, dude, like people, we got to start remembering and understanding what the United States is actually up to and what we're doing, because we're not this country that you're being told we are, because we're not going around spreading freedom, democracy, and happiness around the world. In fact, I'd argue we're doing the opposite. We're spreading fascism, we're spreading dictatorships, we're spreading chaos, we're spreading theocracy. I mean, God, we're backing theocratic rebels in Syria right now. These guys want to take over the country and turn it into a Muslim theocracy. And we're backing those guys against a secular dictator. I mean, yeah, he's a dictator, and that's not good. But he's secular, and we don't have a problem with dictators. I mean, we're supporting Saudi Arabia, for Christ's sake. How can we go around saying, oh, we don't like Assad because he's a dictator? We're supporting other dictators just right on his neighbors. We're supporting them, and we're supporting Erdogan in Turkey, who's like quickly turning himself into a dictator. And so, the genocide of people, indigenous people, is going on all around the world, and we're paying for it. You, me, everybody listening tonight, Donald Trump, well, I guess not, because he doesn't really pay taxes, apparently. But anybody that pays taxes, we're paying for this shit. And that, to me, is what really pisses me off, dude. Like, this genocide stuff, it's still ongoing. It never stops. It's going to keep happening until the people find some cause to unite around. And maybe this thing going on right now in Standing Rock could be it. And who better to lead the resistance against the empire than the initial victims of the empire itself, the Native American people. I mean, it would be perfect. I mean, the time to stand up is now. Where the people in this country are allowing their hard-earned resources to be stolen from them and redistributed through wars and through corporatism all around the world and all throughout the country. And it's like we're all supporting this machine. We're all doing it. We may not be doing it willingly. We I know for you and me, DB, we're not willingly participants in this, but we're, reluctant. As much as we fight against it, you reluctantly have to pay taxes, whether you get creative on your taxes or deal in cash. You still, you buy gas at the gas station, you're taxed. You buy chips, you buy food at the grocery store. In many places, you're taxed on that. You buy beer, you buy cigarettes, you buy weed in legal states, you're taxed on that. And so many people are reluctant participants in this stuff like me. Many people don't even know what the hell is going on. They don't even know, and they don't even care to know. I mean, they're just mad that Hillary Clinton lost, or they're just happy that Donald Trump won. And that's really all the depth of knowledge of political dealing and what's actually happening. That's all they care to know about. But I'm telling you guys, man, like, something has got to be done, and this issue here with Standing Rock, Sophia Wilansky, this can be it, but it's up to us to like make it happen and make it pop and make it like really take a deep root, and really we got to jam this information into people's faces. I hate to say it that way, but you got to take those pictures, and I didn't even put them in my article because they were just so bloody, and I don't like putting bloody stuff into my articles because I've gotten so many emails and people say, hey dude, like, great article, but could you just left out that blown up child from the airstrike out of it? And so what I do when I write articles with really bad things going on, I link to them so the people that are brave enough to go see that kind of gruesome stuff, they can click on the links, on the hyperlinks, and look at it. I don't put the pictures in there, but you know what? Those pictures need to be seen. People need to know what our government is doing to people. They're blowing people up in the United States. They're blowing people up in Syria. They're blowing people up in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen. I mean, I can't even name the places because there's so many of them. We're blowing people up in the Philippines, for Christ's sake. I mean, at Thanksgiving, don't do it at dinner, but your family and your friends, they need to know about this stuff. And I bet you a lot of them don't know, especially your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, if they're still alive. They probably watch CNN, Fox News. I know my grandma watches MSNBC. Like, they probably don't know. They probably maybe heard about it once or twice. They don't know that a woman's arm was just blown up. They don't know that 300 people were doused with
They
water
seriously
cannons.
don't. They don't know. Yeah. They don't. If they're like, even if they're on the internet, they don't know. A lot of my close friends and family that don't dig into things don't go and look at Mint Press or Unicorn Riot, like you were saying. Some of the people that are embedded there right now, there's a lot of independent journalists there, even drones. So, one thing I wanted to bring up, Nick, was that they just signed into law that North Dakota would be the first state that would be able to use weaponized drones, and I think that this is going to be their testing ground, since now they can say, well, we have another drone in the air, so we're going to take it out with one of ours, and they're going to test that interceptor mode out, and then we'll see if they arm it with maybe some technological experiment they're going to try, with some kind of sound cannon or something from above. Who knows? But I always keep waiting for them to use different things they've said they've been developing for a long time, and they never pull them out of the bag. So I don't know how long we can allow it to last, though. I mean, the veterans going out there now are going to bring about a strategic kind of discipline that is going to give them an advantage over these mercenary goon types that are making up the bulk of the forces. The police can't stay out there forever. I mean, there's pressure here, and like I said, in Hennepin County sent their sheriffs. There's pressure here that we're like, we don't want you to pay these dude overtime to be out there and like per diems and pay for their hotels for them to be screwing around out there. We want them back here. Like, we do not authorize your department to add like another $2 million to our budget to help See, because that's what's happening. All these communities around there, especially in Morton County, they're getting drained, and this I don't know who the billionaire guy is. I forget his name now. That is running the company drilling this, but they've already lost over 100 million. They literally can't afford. I mean, it's going to cut into the profit margin here soon and make it kind of unpalatable for any foreign investment, and they're going to have to go at it alone, and that starts getting expensive even for a billionaire. So I just hope the financial pressure finally breaks this and they reroute it again, but it needs to be well away from an aquifer. If not, even they shouldn't even do it. China should build, or I mean, Canada should just build its own pipeline to Vancouver and refine its own crap and send it to China. I mean, to cut in New Orleans just so we can get a piece of it, it's undue risk, and we shouldn't stand for it. I mean, we're already allowing them to put fluoride in the water supply. What are we going to allow them to put oil and frack into the entire groundwater supply too?
Oh man, yeah, dude, it's ridiculous, man. It's really ridiculous. And you're right. These veterans are going to add a new wrinkle to what's going on up there. I'm really excited about that. We posted about that last night. It went extremely viral on Facebook. In fact, I'll pull it up here because I think it got like 100,000 shares, and we don't get that many on the article on our website. We don't get that many shares very often. So this was a story that really resonated with people. Hundreds of veterans heading to Standing Rock to defend DAPL protesters from police. Yeah, 127,000 Facebook shares, 423 Reddit shares, and a bunch of other shares. So this is a big story. And, these veterans, compared to these cops, I mean, they make the cops look like untrained fools. I mean, that's the thing. Cops in the United States are undertrained, and that's why they kill so many goddamn people most of which are with people with mental illness get killed, and minorities get killed because the cops are untrained. And they've got this mentality, this tough guy mentality. I don't know if it comes from being bullied in school or just being, insecure about their manhood or whatever it is, or they're just power hungry. I mean, something attracts people to become a cop. I don't know many people.
Well, 19-week training course is ridiculous, Nick. In a lot of countries, you have to have your bachelor degree before you can handle a firearm in public and have the full backing of the legal department of the PD. It'd be totally different if all these guys were privately insured, and then when they did something dumb like this, their insurance went away and their ability to be a police officer went away, and they didn't have the backing of the department. So then their entire financial future would be gone too in the next civil lawsuit from these victims. Because that's really what we need. We either need a divider of, we need them to be overqualified and have a 4-year degree to be proven that they can stick through an academic program and be well refined intellectually, at least. Or if we're not going to demand that, they need to insure themselves so that they make it so unpalatable for them to do anything that would be like risky to the public or to anybody else, even like a so-called perpetrator. If they shot a guy and there was any reason to think that it was any wrongdoing or anything besides like imminent danger, they would lose their license. They'd lose their insurance. That's what we got to get to.
Yeah, and the United States has actually gone in the opposite direction, because there was a court ruling that said that police departments could actually discriminate against people with that were found to be highly intelligent. So the cops actually don't hire people because they're smart. They actually hire them because they're dumb. And I'm not even joking about this. You can go look this up. There was a court ruling because a guy sued because the police department didn't hire him because his IQ was too high. And he was like, what the hell? And then he took him to court and he lost because the police departments lose money because when they hire smart people have a lot of smart people have a conscience, and they have some kind of ethical grounding where they say, oh shit, I can't really make a career out of this after seeing how you guys work and how the corruption and the brutality and the dealings that the cops actually do. And so a lot of smart people with high IQ, they become cops after getting trained and blah, 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 and then they quit. And so it actually costs the police departments more money to hire smart people because there's a higher turnaround rate on smart people because they don't like working in a corrupt environment or a brutally violent environment. And so rather than the government coming out and saying, okay, you know what, we need to reform the police departments, we got to get rid of the corruption, we got to get rid of the violence and the just shady things that go on, they said, well, let's just ban smart people from being cops because they quit too quick. Like, that literally is what we're doing right now. And like you said, in places like Northern Europe, cops are required to be highly intelligent. They have to be highly qualified, and they go through a lot of training, and many are required to have college degrees. We've done the opposite, dude. Like, we hire the dumbest. We hire the meatheads that literally are order followers. Like, we hire guys that'll follow orders regardless of how bad they are. And those are the guys that they do. And then they defend them when they kill people and they do horrible things. They defend them.
You got to disarm them, Nick. You can't. If we're gonna have to do like they do in UK, where it's like their SWAT, and all of their SWAT have degrees, because they're all considered like an officer class of the police department, and they come in making way more money, and they're highly trained. They're expected to be like basically perfect at their jobs, and they're the guys that have assault rifles and body armor. It's not the standard cops. The standard cops, the doofus constables, can't be trusted with firearms because they go through the 19-week training course, and it should be the same way over here.
In Britain, dude, like, the cops kill very, very few people. In fact, I forget what it was. I know we covered it on the anti-media. I think in 1 month, cops in the U.S. killed more people than cops in the U.K. did in like 100 years or something crazy like that. Or maybe it was a year. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's just something ridiculous. But in the U.K., because I've got a lot of friends a lot of my Facebook friends live in England. A lot of them live in London. And over there, when a guy gets beat up by the cops, it's big news. Like, just a beating or a tasing. Like, it's like, oh my God, someone was, the cops used billy clubs on a guy, and it's like huge news. Over here, it's like, oh, 5 people were killed by cops this week, and it's like, whatever. Shouldn't have been bad. Shouldn't have been black. Shouldn't have been brown. And it's just a stark difference. I mean, the United States, I think one of the reasons why, and this kind of ties right back in with Thanksgiving and stuff, we've kind of immortalized a culture of violence here. And the country is built on genocide and slavery and war. And look at the heroes, the people who can't we criticize? Well, we can't criticize the troops, can't criticize the cops, and the media sells us on every war. All the movies are violent, all the video games are violent. I mean, everything about our culture, and I'm not going to bash violent video games because I like playing Call of Duty every once in a while too. But everything about our culture is built on violence, and we have to accept it. We're taught about this stuff throughout school. I mean, the United States is the largest standing empire left. I mean, it's really the only empire left that has external, vassal states and colonies, occupations, really, on a large scale. So the American people have been conditioned to accept violence as long as it's done by the right people. If it's done by our cops, if it's done by our armies, if it's ordered by our politicians, it's okay. If a kid gets a gun and goes and shoots up a school, then oh my God, it's a huge deal. That's unacceptable. We need to ban guns. If a Muslim guy that has been radicalized because he's tired of seeing his countrymen blown up by our drone strikes in Afghanistan, which is exactly what happened with the Orlando shooter, if he goes and buys a gun and shoots up a nightclub, well then, oh my God, we got to ban Muslims. Something wrong with these people, right? But, since 9/11, the United States has killed well over 1 million people in Iraq, maybe directly or indirectly. Some estimates say it's as high as 4 or 5 million. Conservative estimates say it's 1 million. It's okay. It's fine. Violence is all right because it's the military doing it. 1,000 people get shot a year, killed a year every by the cops. It's okay. Cops are doing it. No big deal. Anybody else commits an act of violence, and it's like the end of the world. We got to put an end to it. We got to ban guns. We got to ban Muslims. We got to stop and frisk everybody in the inner cities. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane. It's craziness.
Well, this list he's proposing to bring about a Muslim registry will lead to a full backlash beyond anything you could imagine. So I'm sure he'll backpedal from that too. But honestly, what I'm anticipating happening here very soon is like a crackdown on the intellectual class, the liberal professor class that has pretty much completely dominated all of the universities for the last, I don't know, 40 or 50 years. I think a lot of that, they're going to see a very huge crackdown and pressure as far as their loyalty to our country itself, and have their patriotism and nationalism questioned as a result of a lot of the prevailing teachings that have been kind of used and to a large extent abused. I mean, we've seen a lot of negative backlash towards stuff like safe spaces and stuff in universities, and we realize that the educational system has been truly co-opted for a liberal agenda. I mean, from start to finish, and it's like, whoa, this is not what we anticipated or wanted. We wanted like people to be able to think in college and learn how to learn, not learn what to think. And like that's the exact opposite. Like it's one thing in junior high or something, but by the time you're in high school, if they're still trying to indoctrinate our kids and stuff, it's way beyond what we thought it was going to be, and it needs to be scaled back big time and probably even dismantled. I mean, they've always said if there's one part of the government that should go right away, it's the Department of Education, not because of the funding, but because of how it's set up. It should be left up to each individual community how they want to educate people, because national standards have been abused. I mean, look, they've been used to dumb down an entire generation to where they don't even know what the hell's going on. And it's spread into the current college generation too. It's crazy.
I mean, I was told in high school that I was going to work an assembly line. You know, I took the test where they tell you what industry you're going to go into, because I went to a high school that was in the barrio, and it's a poor place, and most of the kids at my school didn't go on to college. And so they give you like a personality test on your senior year, and they tell you where you should go work. And they told me I was going to work on an assembly line. And now, 10 years later, I'm a writer. I make a living by talking about philosophies and stuff like that. So, people aren't given the opportunity to find themselves in our education system. And of course, in the lower education, like middle school, high school, elementary school, American exceptionalism, patriotism, unquestioning, do not question authority. That's the kind of mentality that's ingrained into people at that level. And then in college, you have a lot of the opposite. Like you said, you got this just brainwashed liberalism of just like build a bubble around you and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. And it's just like so confusing, and it's just so bad. Like it's so bad. I have a couple of friends right now that are going through college. I've got a buddy that's becoming a nurse, and he's getting close. But he has to take all these just stupid classes, and for him they're stupid. But maybe some people would actually choose to go take that class because they want to learn about that certain subject. But like, you're forced to learn about crap that doesn't matter to your career or to your interests. And that's like what the entire school experience was for me throughout, throughout all of the undereducation and stuff. It's just 98% of it is just boring crap that I didn't give two shits about. I mean, I liked science, I liked writing, I liked wood shop. But other than that, it was just a bunch of fluff work, a bunch of busy work, a bunch of crap that I'm never going to use, and that I was tortured basically throughout school to do, you know. And it's just the whole thing, like you said, dude, we got to get rid of the Department of Education. The entire way we go about education needs to be undone and rethought. I mean, education needs to be independent. It needs to be independent of the government, because education is really one of the final checks on government power and government abuses. I mean, the government should not be directly in control of the education system, because they're only going to educate people in self-serving ways. You're only going to teach people what you want them to know, because you don't want them questioning your shit. And that's
all they do.
Problems,
yeah.
Dude.
That's all they do. I mean, that's why we're so far behind in things that actually matter, like the STEMs, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We're so far behind. And countries like Japan, I mean, we don't want to go that too far, because in Japan, you know, school is your entire life, and that's why there's a lot of depression and suicide there. So you don't want to go quite that far over the spectrum. But there they know, man, like not everybody's gonna be able to do, you know, a 4-year degree. I mean, there's a definite full on, like, just direct route to becoming a mechanic or to becoming whatever, anything that's a blue collar job. They still have those, and they get you started when you're young. So you're apprentice and you're like an expert by the time you're like in your early 20s. So we could get that going back again, but that, you know, entails shifting manufacturing from China back to the U.S. and then making China the consumer class. So I don't know how we're going to arrange that. I mean, I know China probably has the most physical collateral in the world now, so maybe they'll become the new America, we'll become the new China, and maybe it'll be more of a split of the GDP of the global economy. I have no idea, but something's bound to change soon, because we're starting to get a huge class of people that are former middle class. And I mean, it's not like the Second Amendment.
They elected Trump, dude. The
Second Amendment hasn't been repealed. So I think we understand the powder keg we're sitting on, right?
Yeah, dude. You know, and people in this country are really angry. They're really felt left out. They feel left behind. And they take it out on the political class. And of course, we all remember the Occupy Wall Street movement, which is really in many ways like an anti-corporate movement. And then you got Trump, which sold himself as some kind of anti-establishment guy. And just really all he did was co-opt a lot of that anger that's there, because Trump, we mentioned earlier, he is establishment. He's crony capitalist, you know, number one. And, you know, he really what Trump did was he co-opted all that anger. And it's kind of like what Obama did in 2008, where he co-opted all that leftist kind of anti-war movement and all that progressivism. And Obama co-opted it and transformed it into the new neoconservative Democratic Party. And so Trump is capturing a bunch of this nationalistic kind of, you know, you guys forgot about us, you know, the former middle class, like, we want our jobs back. And Trump captured all that stuff. And then he's just going to probably morph it back into, okay, let's turn all that Trump movement into just same old neocon, kind of neoliberal type of stuff. And it's a shame, because people genuinely have concerns, like going back again to the people that elected Obama. I think the people that were supporting Bernie Sanders, many of the people that were supporting Trump, all the third-party people. I mean, these people have genuine concerns about this country, and they want to see a change. But unfortunately, voting in the same old system, the two-party system, the status quo, that's not how we achieve it. We gotta work outside of it, and Standing Rock is the catalyst. Thank you all for tuning in. That's a new video. Catch you guys next week.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.